All right, before we start getting into concepts, formations, and plays, why don't we talk about the basic rules of the league this year? And again, for those of you who were in on my team last year in the Pound Ridge Rec League, the rules from there are different than the rules that we're playing in this league this year. I think it's going to be a much more fun experience for you girls, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But why don't we just go over the rules very briefly? So the basic rules before we go into the offensive and defensive rules here. The basic rules, general rules, are this league is 5-on-5. Okay. Last year, if you played on the Pound Ridge League, we played 7-on-7. And this year, it's going to be 5-on-5, which means fewer players, more space to run, more space to find open areas. And what that basically is going to look like is this. I'm going to draw a line here. This is what we call the line of scrimmage. This is where the football is. This is the offensive side of the ball. So we're going to call this offense. And the offense is going this way. Okay? So when we're on the offensive side of the ball, this is the football, part of my little drawing. We're going to have a center, C. We're going to have quarterback, QB, and then we're going to have three other players that we'll put in different places. Sometimes the third player is going to be a running back. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then we have two other players, and they're going to be wide receivers. Sometimes the wide receivers will be on each side of the ball. Sometimes, instead of having them even on the same side of the ball, sometimes we might put them on the same side of the ball. Sometimes we might not have a running back and instead have a wide receiver here, wide receiver here, wide receiver here. Sometimes we'll have no running back and three wide receivers on the same side. So the sum total of all the players on offense are always going to be 5 players, and we're always going to have a center and a quarterback. And what we do with the other 3 players is, can be different every time. And some of the reasons why you would change where the other players are is to really try to confuse the defense, to get them doing one thing so that we could take advantage of the thing that we hope that they do. So the centers in our league are snapping the ball to the quarterback, and we'll go over that. We'll go over what snaps are and how to snap the ball. And the quarterbacks are throwing the ball and handing the ball off to their teammates. So that's awesome. The center, once the center snaps the ball, the center can go out and run a route in our league as well, which is really cool. So we will practice those things when we have a chance to, but that's the general basic flavor of 5-on-5 on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, let me just draw an offense so that we can relate. So center, quarterback, and then we're going to go empty formation, and we'll talk about that later. Wide receiver, wide receiver. This is an offense that we're just showing so we can show what a defense is. The defense is also going to be 5 players. There's going to be a line on the field that we're going to call it a puck line. It's going to be 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, where the line of scrimmage is where the ball is. So we're going to count 7 yards. And there's going to be sort of an invisible line. They're going to drop a puck. They're going to make a marker 7 yards away from the ball. And any defender, we'll talk about this a little bit later, so they can have 5 defenders against our offense in any sort of pattern that they want to make. And we'll talk about a couple of the various patterns that people can have. But ultimately, one of the cool things that's going to happen this year is there's going to be something called blitzing. the defense is going to be able to do, where so long as the athlete starts behind this puck line, this 7-yard line, they can come and blitz, which is pretty cool. So blitzing is when you come and you try to get the quarterback, you run at them like you're playing tag, and you try to grab their flag as quickly as you can. So that's fun. But 5-on-5 and offense and defense on both sides. That's sort of the basic rule that we have there. The first one, 5-on-5. Second rule, and this is something that is second basic rule that we have, is we're going to have no run zones on the field. Okay, so let's pretend this is the field. Okay, let's pretend that this is the halfway point of the field. Anyway, 5 yards, and then these are the touchdown. These are the end zones here. Okay. Anywhere 5 yards from the midline. The midline is the first down line for us on either side. So you have to cross the midline in order to get back to first down. So let's say 5 yards anywhere here. And what'll happen is this is what we call a no-run zone. So once we get this close to getting a first down, we can't run anymore. We have to pass. Okay? Same thing with getting to the touchdown. Touchdown, 5 yards. Once you get within 5 yards, we can no longer run the ball. We've got to throw the ball to get a touchdown. All right? So it's just interesting. There was a similar rule for those of you who played on my team last year, mine and Coach Fred's team last year. Very similar concept, the same concept actually. No run zones, where once we get too close to either a touchdown or a first down, we can't run the ball anymore. We really have to complete a pass. So very interesting. All right. Those are the general rules for the league. Again, they're pretty simple to understand.